The entire office froze when a little girl walked through the glass doors holding her mother's worn lunch bag instead of a toy. Her tiny hands trembled as she stood in front of the company's powerful owner, looked up with tear-filled eyes, and asked the question that no salary report, business meeting, or executive decision could ever prepare him to hear. She quietly begged him to let her mother rest for just one day because she had watched her fall asleep sitting at the kitchen table, wake up crying from exhaustion, and still leave every morning pretending everything was fine. In that heartbreaking moment, the little girl's voice shattered the silence of an entire company, and before the sun set, hundreds of lives would change forever. If you believe kindness still matters, forgiveness has the power to heal, hope can appear when life feels impossible, and everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue spreading stories that remind us what truly matters. Marisol. No. Clara Whitmore had spent most of her 32 years believing that hard work could solve almost anything. After losing her husband, Owen, to a sudden heart condition 3 years earlier, she never allowed herself the luxury of slowing down. She became both mother and father to her 7-year-old daughter, Elsie. Every sunrise marked another race against time. She prepared breakfast before dawn, walked Elsie to school, traveled across the city to her job as an administrative assistant at a large logistics company, stayed late whenever extra work appeared, hurried home to help with homework, washed clothes, cooked dinner, paid bills, and smiled through every moment because she wanted her daughter to believe everything would be all right. The smile became part of her routine. The exhaustion became invisible. No one at work realized that Clara often skipped lunch to save money for school supplies. They never knew she quietly repaired the same pair of shoes instead of buying new ones. They didn't see the unopened medical letters reminding her to attend appointments she kept postponing because missing work meant losing income. Her manager noticed only one thing. She never complained. That made her dependable. The company's founder and chief executive, Gideon Mercer, rarely visited the main administration floor. He was known as a disciplined businessman who expected excellence from everyone, especially himself. Employees respected him, but many believed he cared more about productivity than people. They admired his success while assuming his office windows separated him from ordinary struggles. What nobody knew was that Gideon had grown up watching his own mother work herself into illness while raising 3 children alone. Success had changed his circumstances, but those memories had never disappeared. Buried beneath years of business decisions remained a son who still remembered waiting outside factory gates for a mother too exhausted to stand straight. That Wednesday afternoon, the reception area buzzed with deliveries and meetings when the receptionist noticed a young girl carefully entering the building. Elsie had come straight from school because she had forgotten to place her mother's lunch bag into her backpack that morning. Clara had left for work without eating again. The receptionist smiled kindly and offered to deliver the bag. Elsie politely shook her head. She wanted to surprise her mother. As she followed an employee toward the administration department, she passed a conference room where Gideon had just finished addressing senior executives. Before anyone realized what was happening, the little girl stepped inside. She recognized the photograph hanging on the wall from company newsletters. This was the man who owned the building where her mother spent most of every day. Gathering every bit of courage she possessed, Elsie walked directly toward him. The room became completely silent. With tears forming in her eyes, she asked if he could please let her mummy rest just one day because she had fallen asleep at breakfast again that morning and whispered sorry while sleeping. Nobody moved. Several executives looked away, unable to meet the child's eyes. Gideon remained perfectly still. The word struck somewhere deep inside him. He looked at the lunch bag in her hands. It was still full. That meant Clara hadn't eaten. Again. Instead of asking security to escort the child outside, Gideon gently knelt until they were eye level. He thanked her for bringing the lunch. He promised he would personally make sure her mother received it. Then he quietly asked one employee to bring Clara to the conference room. Clara entered moments later, confused and embarrassed to find her daughter standing beside the company's leadership team. Her first instinct was to apologize. She feared Elsie had interrupted an important meeting. Before Clara could speak further, Gideon handed her the lunch bag. He noticed the surprise on her face. She admitted she had forgotten it. Again. He invited both mother and daughter to sit down. For the first time in years, someone asked Clara a question no manager had ever asked. Not about deadlines. Not about reports. Simply whether she was all right. The question almost broke her. She tried to answer with her usual reassuring smile. Instead, tears quietly rolled down her cheeks. Months of exhaustion escaped all at once. She explained that she loved her work, but overtime had become constant. She worried about paying the mortgage, supporting Elsie, replacing the aging boiler before winter, and keeping life stable after losing Owen. She wasn't asking for sympathy. She simply wanted enough strength to keep being the mother her daughter deserved. The room felt impossibly quiet. Every executive had spreadsheets describing employee performance. None had ever seen the human story hidden behind those numbers. After Clara left with Elsie, Gideon canceled every remaining meeting that afternoon. He asked the Human Resources Department for complete reports on overtime, unused annual leave, employee well-being, and staff turnover. The findings unsettled him. Nearly half the workforce regularly skipped breaks. Many parents used annual leave not for holidays but to attend medical appointments or school meetings. Several employees had worked through illnesses because they feared appearing unreliable. Productivity had increased. So had burnout. Gideon realized the company had slowly rewarded sacrifice instead of sustainability. The next morning he arrived earlier than anyone else. He walked through every department instead of heading directly to his office. For the first time, employees saw him stopping at desks, asking simple questions, noticing family photographs, congratulating birthdays listed on calendars, and thanking people personally. Some wondered whether something unusual had happened. Something had. A little girl had reminded him why businesses exist. Not simply to generate profit, but to improve lives. Within a week major changes began. Mandatory lunch breaks replaced optional ones. Unused holiday leave had to be scheduled rather than ignored. Flexible working arrangements became available for parents and carers. An employee well-being program provided confidential counseling and health support. Managers received training that measured leadership not only through performance targets but through the well-being of their teams. Many investors questioned the increased costs. Gideon answered calmly. Healthy people built healthy companies. Exhausted people merely survived. The transformation didn't happen overnight. Some supervisors resisted. Others insisted employees would become less productive. Instead, something remarkable occurred. People smiled more often. Absences decreased. Creativity returned. Departments began solving problems together rather than competing against one another. Customers noticed happier employees. Business improved. Meanwhile, Clara struggled with unexpected attention. Colleagues thanked her without knowing exactly why. Several admitted they too had been hiding exhaustion. She realized she had never been alone. Elsie returned to school carrying a lighter heart. For the first time in months, she saw her mother laugh during breakfast instead of staring silently at unpaid bills. One sunny Saturday afternoon, the company organized its first Family Appreciation Day in the gardens beside headquarters. Children explored games while parents relaxed without checking work emails. Grandparents, partners, and friends gathered beneath colorful tents filled with music and shared meals. Gideon walked quietly through the crowd. Nobody treated him like an untouchable executive. Children invited him into football matches. Families thanked him. He accepted every conversation with genuine humility. During the event, Elsie presented him with a drawing. It showed a tired mother holding her daughter's hand beneath a bright sun. Beside them stood a tall man opening a door labeled, "Tomorrow." At the bottom she had written that heroes sometimes wore business suits instead of capes because they listened. Gideon kept that drawing on his office wall for the rest of his career. Months later another challenge tested everything the company had become. An economic downturn forced many businesses to reduce staff. Board members urged immediate redundancies to protect profits. The proposal promised quick financial relief. Gideon studied the numbers carefully. Then he remembered Clara. He remembered his own mother. He remembered Elsie's trembling voice. Instead of dismissing employees, the company temporarily reduced executive bonuses, delayed non-essential expansion projects, and invited volunteers for flexible hours where appropriate. Senior leaders accepted the sacrifices first. No compulsory redundancies occurred. Employees responded with extraordinary loyalty. Departments found new efficiencies. Customers supported the company's values. Within a year profits recovered stronger than before. Business journals praised Gideon's leadership. He accepted the recognition only after insisting that the real lesson had come from a 7-year-old girl brave enough to speak when adults remained silent. Clara eventually became employee well-being coordinator, helping develop programs supporting working parents across the organization. She never forgot how close she had come to breaking before someone finally noticed. Her experience allowed countless others to ask for help without shame. Elsie grew older watching compassion reshape an entire workplace. She learned success meant little if achieved by ignoring people carrying invisible burdens. Years passed. The company became known nationally not only for excellent service but for treating employees with dignity. Other organizations visited to learn how culture could improve both lives and results. Whenever visitors asked where the transformation began, Gideon never mentioned strategy meetings or business consultants. He pointed toward the framed drawing hanging behind his desk. Its colors had faded slightly with time. Its message never had. One bright afternoon, long after Elsie had become a university student studying education, she returned to visit the headquarters with her mother. Employees who remembered the little girl welcomed her warmly. Many told her they still took proper lunch breaks because of what she had done. Several parents explained they now spent evenings with their children instead of endless overtime. One father quietly admitted that flexible hours had allowed him to attend every one of his son's football matches. One grandmother said counseling had helped her overcome grief after losing her husband. Lives had changed in ways impossible to measure on financial statements. Standing beside the reception desk where everything had begun, Clara looked at her daughter with grateful eyes. She realized children often notice truths adults become too busy to see. Love speaks with remarkable courage when it fears losing someone. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment and tell us this: if you were in Elsie's place, would you have found the courage to speak, or has a child ever taught you an unforgettable lesson about kindness? Your words may encourage someone who needs hope today. As warm afternoon sunlight streamed through the glass entrance, employees left work smiling, greeting their families without rushing back to unfinished tasks. Clara held Elsie's hand for a moment longer than usual, grateful not only for a better workplace but for the reminder that no achievement is worth more than the people we love. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Always remember that sometimes the smallest voice in the room carries the greatest truth, and one brave act of love can change not just a single life, but an entire community forever.